The galaxy was quiet, too quiet for those who remembered the old days when thousands of different species traded, explored, and built cities among the stars. Now only the Vorthak ruled everything. Commander Lee Jiho floated in his cryopod, sleeping like the dead. Around him, 50,000 other humans slept in the same way aboard the massive ship called New Sol. They had been sleeping for 200 years, drifting through the empty space between star systems where no one would find them. The ship's computer watched over them all. It listened to radio signals from across the galaxy. It recorded everything the Vorthak said to each other. It waited for the right time to wake up the humans inside. Dr. Park Minji's pod sat next to Lee Jiho's. She was the ship's doctor, the one who made sure everyone stayed alive during their long sleep. Her machines checked their hearts, their blood, their brains. Everything had to be perfect. One mistake and they would die in their sleep. Captain Kim Taemin commanded the ship even while sleeping. His pod had special connections to the ship's brain. If something went very wrong, he would wake up first. But for 200 years, nothing had gone that wrong. Engineer Yoon Hyuk took care of the ship's engines. His job was to make sure they could fly fast when the time came. The engines were different now than when humans first built them. The ship had been building better parts while everyone slept. Smarter parts, stronger parts. On the planet Kelros, the blue-skinned Kalari people dug in the mines. They had once been traders who flew between the stars in fast ships. Now they were slaves. The Vorthak guards watched them with big black eyes and sharp claws. Any Kalari who moved too slow got hit. Any who talked back got killed. The Vorthak looked like giant bugs that walked on two legs. They had hard shells like armor and 4 arms each. Their mouths had teeth like knives. They had ruled the galaxy for so long that most species forgot what freedom felt like. In the water cities of Nexus Prime, the fish-like Nexus people worked in laboratories. They used to study the stars and discover new things. Now they only worked on projects the Vorthak wanted. New weapons, better armor, faster ships for their masters. The crystal people called Zephyrians lived on floating rocks in space. They could change light into energy and energy into light. The Vorthak made them power-huge machines that turned planets into factories. The Zephyrians' beautiful light songs had become work orders and pain signals. Far away from all this suffering, 17 other human ships drifted in the dark. Each ship carried thousands of sleeping humans. They all listened to the same signals. They all waited for the same moment. The ship New Sol had been flying for a very long time. It started its journey when Earth still existed. Back then, humans had just learned how to travel between stars. They were excited to meet other species. They wanted to trade and learn and explore. Then the Vorthak came. The bug-like aliens attacked without warning. They destroyed human colonies on dozens of worlds. They killed millions of people, but some humans escaped in big ships like New Sol. These ships flew into the dark spaces where no stars shone. They hid there while the galaxy burned. Lee Jiho remembered the last day before he went to sleep. He was a soldier then, fighting the Vorthak on a planet called New Busan. His team had held the spaceport while families ran to the evacuation ships. He saw the bug ships coming down from the sky like deadly rain. He remembered carrying a wounded child to safety. He remembered the sound of Vorthak weapons cutting through steel. He remembered thinking that humans would never see home again. But the smart people who built the ships had a plan. The ships would sleep in the dark for as long as needed. Their computers would build new weapons and new technology while everyone slept. When the time was right, humans would wake up stronger than before. The Vorthak thought all humans were dead. They stopped looking for human ships. They got comfortable ruling the galaxy. They made mistakes that strong rulers always make. They became lazy. They became mean without reason. They started killing their slaves just for fun. On the ship New Sol, the computer noticed these changes. It saw how the Vorthak treated the other species. It saw them destroying worlds that could never be fixed. It saw them killing the last free people just because they could. The computer talked to the other human ships through signals so weak that no one else could hear them. All the ships agreed that something had to change. The Vorthak had gone too far. Deep in the ship's factories, machines built new weapons. They made armor that could stop Vorthak claws. They made ships that could hide from Vorthak sensors. They made tools for war that no one had ever seen before. The Kalari slaves on Kelros didn't know that help was coming. They worked in the deep mines, digging up metals for Vorthak machines. Some of them remembered stories their grandparents told about humans. but those were just old stories. Humans were gone forever. The Nexus people in their underwater labs had given up hope long ago. They did their work and tried not to think about their old lives. Sometimes they found ways to help each other. Sometimes they shared food when the Vorthak weren't watching, but they never dreamed of real freedom. The Zephyrians on their floating rocks had almost forgotten how to sing their light songs for joy. They only knew work songs now. Sad songs. Songs that made power for Vorthak machines but brought no happiness to anyone. All across the galaxy, the Vorthak Empire grew stronger and more cruel. They had no enemies left to fight. They had no one to fear. They thought they would rule forever. But in the dark between the stars, 50,000 humans were about to wake up on the ship New Sol. And they were not the same humans who had run away 200 years ago. They were something new, something the Vorthak had never seen before, something that would change everything. The computer counted down the days. Soon, very soon, it would be time to wake them up. The galaxy had been quiet for too long. It was time to make some noise. Technician Choi Rena opened her eyes first. The cryopod made a soft hissing sound as warm air filled her lungs. Her body felt strange after sleeping for 200 years. Everything was stiff and cold. Red lights flashed around her pod. Warning signals. Something was happening in the galaxy. Something big enough to wake her up. Rena pushed the pod door open and floated out. Her legs didn't work right yet. Nobody's legs worked right after such a long sleep. She grabbed the wall and pulled herself to the nearest computer screen. The words on the screen made her heart beat fast. The Vorthak Empire was starting to kill all their slaves. Not just some of them. All of them. Every Kalari, every Nexus person, every Zephyrian. The bugs had decided they didn't need servants anymore. Rena's job was to wake up the important people when bad things happened. She pressed buttons on the computer and more cryopods started opening. Dr. Park Minji woke up next, then Lieutenant Nam Junho, then Dr. Shin Woo-bin. Dr. Park Minji checked everyone's health as they woke up. The long sleep had been hard on their bodies, but they were alive. That was what mattered. She gave them medicine to help their muscles work again. Lieutenant Nam Junho was a soldier, like Lee Jiho. He looked at the computer screens and understood right away why they had been awakened. His face got very serious.
He had fought the Vorthak before.
He knew how dangerous they were. Dr. Shin Woo-bin was the smartest person on the ship about alien biology. Before the war, he had studied the Vorthak. He knew secrets about them that might help in a fight. Secrets that the bugs thought no one remembered. One by one, more people woke up. They had all been chosen for important jobs. Engineers, soldiers, doctors, pilots. Everyone the ship would need to survive and fight. Commander Lee Jiho woke up last among the important people. When his pod opened, he saw all the others looking at him. They were waiting for him to lead them just like in the old days. How long? Lee Jiho asked. His voice was rough from the long sleep. 200 years, Rena said. The computer woke us up because the Vorthak are killing everyone. All the slave species. They're planning to wipe them out completely. Lee Jiho looked at the screens showing what was happening across the galaxy. Vorthak ships were attacking peaceful planets. They were destroying cities full of innocent people. It was worse than anything that happened during the human war. Are we the only ship awake? He asked. No, Dr. Park Minji said. The computer is talking to 17 other human ships. They're all waking up their people too. We've been waiting for this moment for 200 years. Dr. Shin Woo-bin showed them what he had learned about the Vorthak. Their armor looks very strong, but it has weak spots. Right here, between the shell pieces on their backs, and here where their necks join their heads. Human weapons can hurt them there. Lieutenant Nam Junho studied the tactical information. They have thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. How can we fight them? They think we're extinct, Lee Jiho said. They stopped looking for us a long time ago. That's our advantage. They won't see us coming. Captain Kim Taemin woke up and took command of the ship. He was older than the others, with gray hair and kind eyes, but his voice was strong when he spoke. The other human ships are spread across the galaxy, he said. Each one has been building weapons and ships while we slept. We're not the same humans who ran away 200 years ago. We're ready to fight. Engineer Yoon Hyuk showed them the new technology the ship had built. The engines were 3 times faster than before. The weapons were stronger. Best of all, they had new shields that could make the ship invisible to Vorthak sensors. We can appear and disappear like ghosts, he said. Hit them and vanish before they know what happened. More people woke up every hour. The ship that had been silent for 2 centuries started to come alive. People walked in the hallways. Machines hummed with power. The air tasted fresh and clean. They learned that some alien species were still fighting back. On the planet Kelros, a group of Kalari had hidden in the deep caves. On Nexus Prime, some of the fish people had escaped to the ocean floor. A few Zephyrian crystals still sang free songs in secret places. "We need to find these resistance groups," Lee Jiho said. "They know things about Vorthak bases that we don't, and they deserve to know that help is coming." Dr. Shin Wubin had an idea. The Vorthak communicate using radio signals. We can copy their signals and pretend to be them. We can get close to their ships before they realize we're enemies. Captain Kim Taemin made the decision. We start small. Hit their supply ships first. Free some prisoners. Learn how they fight now. Then we plan something bigger. The ship New Sol had been drifting for so long that dust covered the outside hull, but inside it was becoming a warship again. People cleaned weapons and checked equipment. Pilots practiced flying the new fighter ships that had been built during the long sleep. Choi Rena worked with the other technicians to make sure all the ship's systems worked perfectly. They had one chance to surprise the Vorthak. Everything had to work right the first time. Dr. Park Minji prepared medical supplies for wounded people. She knew there would be fighting soon. She also prepared special medicine for any aliens they rescued. Different species needed different kinds of help. The computer showed them messages from the other human ships. Admiral Han Soo-young on the ship. Busan Rising had woken up her crew too. Major Kang Do-hyun on the ship Incheon Thunder was already planning attack missions. All across the galaxy, humans were waking up. They were angry about what the Vorthak had done. They were sad about all the people who had died. But most of all, they were ready to fight. Lee Jiho stood on the bridge and looked at the stars through the big window. Somewhere out there, innocent people were dying, but not for much longer. "Send a message to all human ships," he told the communications officer. "Tell them the sleeping giant is awake. Tell them it's time to remind the galaxy what happens when you wake up humans." The message went out through space, traveling from ship to ship. 17 other human commanders heard it and smiled. The Vorthak Empire had ruled through fear for 200 years. Now it was their turn to be afraid. Admiral Han Soo-young stood on the bridge of the Busan Rising, watching her crew work. Like all the human ships, hers had been sleeping in the dark for 200 years. Now her people were awake and ready for war. "Status report," she said to her officers. "All 18 human ships are awake and operational," reported Lieutenant Kim Dae-hyun. "Total human population, 1.2 million people. All ships have completed their technology upgrades." Han Soo-young nodded. It was a small number compared to the billions of Vorthak across the galaxy. But humans had always been good at winning fights when they were outnumbered. Major Kang Do-hyun was getting ready for the first mission. He was a special operations soldier, trained to sneak into enemy bases and cause trouble. His team had been practicing for weeks since waking up. "We'll hit the mining station on Kelros first," he told his squad. "Intelligence says there are 5,000 Kalari prisoners there. The Vorthak are planning to kill them all next week." Engineer Lim Gyung had developed new stealth technology while everyone slept. Her ships could become invisible to Vorthak sensors by bending light around them. It was like magic, but it was really just very advanced science. "The stealth field will last for 6 hours, she explained to the pilots. "That's enough time to get in, free the prisoners, and get out. The Vorthak won't even know we were there until it's too late." On the New Sol, Commander Lee Jiho was coordinating with all the other ships. Each ship had picked a different target for their first attack. They would hit the Vorthak in 18 different places at exactly the same time. Captain Oh Minho was the best pilot in the human fleet. She had trained on the new fighter ships that were built during the long sleep. These ships were faster and more agile than anything the Vorthak had ever seen. "The Vorthak fly in straight lines and follow predictable patterns," she told her squadron. "They think like computers, but we think like humans. We can be creative. We can be unpredictable. That's how we'll beat them." Dr. Shin Wubin had been studying old Vorthak communication records. He found something interesting in the data. "The Vorthak have become lazy," he told the other commanders during a video call. "They use the same security codes for months. They don't change their patrol routes. They think they're so powerful that they don't need to be careful." The first attack began at exactly midnight, Galaxy Standard Time. Major Kang Do-hyun's team used the stealth ships to land on the Kelros mining station. They moved through the base like shadows. taking out Vorthak guards without making any noise. The Kalari prisoners couldn't believe their eyes when humans appeared in their cells. Most of them had never seen a human before. They thought humans were just legends. "Are you real?" asked an old Kalari named Vex Morin. His blue skin was covered with scars from years of hard work in the mines. "We're real," Major Kang Do-hyun said in the Kalari language. "And we're here to take you home." The rescue mission was perfect. Kang Do-hyun's team freed all 5,000 prisoners and loaded them onto transport ships. They also captured a Vorthak data core that contained information about other prison camps. At the same time, similar attacks happened across the galaxy. Human teams hit supply convoys, communication stations, and small military bases. They freed thousands of alien prisoners and captured tons of Vorthak equipment. The best part was that the Vorthak didn't understand what was happening. Their reports all said the same thing: slave revolt. Prisoners escaped, no sign of outside help. Captain Ominha led the attack on a Vorthak patrol fleet near the Nexus system. Her squadron of 12 fighters appeared out of nowhere, their stealth fields dropping just before they opened fire. The Vorthak ships tried to respond, but human fighters moved in ways their computers couldn't predict. Omina Dove under a Vorthak cruiser spun upside down and fired at its weak spots. Her wingman, Lieutenant Park Jae-sung, came in from a completely different angle. "This is impossible," the Vorthak commander transmitted to his fleet. "How are they flying like that?" The human fighters destroyed 6 Vorthak ships and disappeared back into stealth mode. The surviving Vorthak ships had no idea what had attacked them. Their sensors showed nothing but empty space. Engineer Lim Ga-young watched the battle from the Busan Rising. Her stealth technology was working perfectly. The Vorthak couldn't track human ships even when they were shooting at them. "They're starting to panic," she observed. "Look at their communication patterns. They're sending reports in all directions, but nobody believes them." On New Seoul, Dr. John Hyun-woo was working on psychological warfare. He had been studying Vorthak psychology for 200 years. He knew how to make them afraid. The Vorthak control their empire through fear, he explained to Lee Ji-ho. But they've never felt fear themselves. They don't know how to handle it when they become the victims. John Hyun-woo started broadcasting messages on Vorthak communication channels. The messages were simple. "The ghosts of the galaxy have awakened. Your slaves are free. Your ships are burning. Your empire is ending." The messages were in the old human language, but with Vorthak translation. The bugs who heard them didn't know what to think. Humans were supposed to be extinct. How could human voices be talking to them? More attacks followed over the next few weeks. Human ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts. They hit targets that should have been impossible to reach. They freed prisoners from the most secure facilities. The Vorthak military started to worry. They sent investigation teams to the attack sites, but they found no clues about who was responsible. The attack patterns didn't match any known enemy tactics. Admiral Han Soo-young called another meeting with all the human commanders. Their first phase of attacks had been a complete success. Now it was time to plan something bigger. "We've freed over 50,000 alien prisoners," she reported. "We've destroyed dozens of Vorthak ships and bases. Most importantly, we've made them afraid." The freed aliens were eager to help. The Kalari knew the locations of secret Vorthak supply depots. The Nexus people had maps of underwater bases. The Zephyrians could predict Vorthak ship movements by reading energy patterns. Commander Lee Ji-ho looked at the intelligence reports from all the rescue missions. The picture they painted was clear. The Vorthak Empire was starting to crack under pressure. "They're pulling ships back from the outer systems," he said. "They're concentrating their forces to protect their core worlds. That's exactly what we want them to do." Major Kang Do-hyun had a new idea for their next attack. "There's a major prison planet called Vorthak Prime 7. It holds over 1 million prisoners from dozens of different species. If we could free them all, it would be the largest prison break in galactic history," Admiral Han Soo-young finished, "and it would show every remaining free person that the Vorthak can be beaten." Captain Oh-minha was already planning the fighter escort for such a mission. "We'll need every stealth ship we have, and we'll need to coordinate the attack perfectly. One mistake and we lose everything." Engineer Lim Ga-young was confident her technology could handle it. "I've been improving the stealth fields. We can keep an entire fleet invisible for up to 12 hours now." The human fleet began moving toward Vorthak Prime 7. 18 ships carrying over 1 million humans, plus thousands of rescued aliens who wanted to fight for their freedom. For the first time in 200 years, The Vorthak Empire was about to face a real enemy. An enemy that could think, adapt, and fight in ways their computers couldn't understand. The ghosts were becoming an army. General Bei Sunho stood in the transport ship looking at his soldiers. They were about to make the largest ground attack in 200 years. Below them was Vorthak Prime 7, a prison planet holding over 1 million innocent people. "Remember the plan," he told his troops. "We hit fast and hard. Free the prisoners. Get them to the ships. Don't try to be heroes. We need everyone alive for the bigger war that's coming." The Vorthak had finally figured out that humans were back. Their military was calling it the Ghost War, because human ships kept appearing and disappearing. Vorthak commanders were starting to panic, pulling their fleets back to protect important worlds. Captain Ominha flew her fighter Soulfire through the planet's atmosphere. Her squadron was providing cover for the ground troops. The new human fighters were amazing machines, faster and more agile than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "No Vorthak air support detected," she reported. They pulled their fighter squadrons back to the home system. "The sky is ours." Dr. John Hyunwoo had been broadcasting psychological warfare messages for weeks. His words were having a real effect on Vorthak morale. For the first time in their history, the bugs were experiencing fear. "Fear is spreading through their empire like a disease," he reported to Admiral Han Soo-young. "Their soldiers are starting to question orders. Some are even deserting their posts." The human stealth ships landed around the prison complex without being detected. Engineer Lim Gi-young's technology was working perfectly. The Vorthak guards had no idea that an army was surrounding them. General Bei Sunho led the first assault team. They moved through the prison corridors quickly and quietly. Human weapons were designed to exploit Vorthak weaknesses that Dr. Shin Woo-bin had identified years ago. The prison guards were caught completely by surprise. They had been told that humans were extinct. Seeing human soldiers appear in their fortress was like seeing ghosts come to life. "This is impossible," one Vorthak guard said before Bei. Sunho's team stunned him unconscious. The first cell blocks contained Kalari prisoners. When they saw humans breaking down their cell doors, many of them started crying. They had given up hope of ever being free. "Are you the legendary humans?" asked a young Kalari female named Zira Velan. "The ones from the old stories?" "We're real," Bai Sunho said. "And we're getting you out of here." The rescue operation was massive. 18 different human teams hit different parts of the prison at the same time. They freed Kalari, Nexus people, Zephyrians, and members of species that most humans had never seen before. Some of the freed aliens were too weak to walk. Others were too scared to move. Human medics helped everyone they could, carrying the wounded and comforting the afraid. The Vorthak tried to organize a defense, but their communication systems were being jammed by Dr. John Hyunwoo's psychological warfare unit. Instead of tactical orders, Vorthak soldiers heard human voices saying things like, "Your empire is falling," and "The galaxy remembers your crimes." Major Kang Do-hyun led a special team to the prison's main computer center. They needed to download the locations of other prison planets. The data core was protected by the prison's most elite guards. The battle in the computer center was fierce. Vorthak elite troops were bigger and stronger than regular soldiers, but they had never fought humans before. They didn't understand human tactics. Kang Do-hyun's team used their smaller size and speed to outmaneuver the guards. They attacked from unexpected angles, used the room's equipment as cover, and coordinated their movements in ways the Vorthak couldn't predict. "Got it," Technician Choi Rena said as she downloaded the prison data. Locations of 47 other prison facilities, plus transportation schedules and guard rotations. Captain Ominha's fighter squadron kept the skies clear while the ground teams worked. But she could see Vorthak reinforcements coming from orbit. The Empire was finally responding to the attack. "Multiple Vorthak ships incoming," she reported. "Looks like 3 cruisers and a dozen fighters." ETA 15 minutes. Admiral Han Soo-young was coordinating the entire operation from the New Sol. She had kept the main human fleet hidden in the outer system. But now it was time to reveal their strength. "All human ships decloak and advance," she ordered. "Show them what we've built during our long sleep." 18 human ships suddenly appeared in the Vorthak Prime 7 system. But they weren't the same kind of ships that had fled the galaxy 200 years ago. These were warships, built with technology the Vorthak had never seen. The Vorthak reinforcement fleet stopped in shock. Their sensors were telling them impossible things. Human ships were supposed to be primitive, weak, These ships were reading as more advanced than anything in the Vorthak arsenal. Commander Lee Jiho was leading the space battle from the bridge of New Seoul. He had been waiting 200 years for this moment. The chance to fight back against the aliens who had destroyed his world. All ships open fire, he commanded. Human weapons lit up the darkness of space. The new plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes hit Vorthak ships with devastating force. But the real surprise was how the human ships moved. Instead of flying in the straight lines and predictable patterns that the Vorthak expected, human ships danced through space like living things. They spun, dove, and twisted in ways that confused Vorthak targeting computers. They're not following any logical flight plan, the Vorthak fleet commander reported to his superiors. Our computers can't predict their movements. Captain Ominha laughed as she flew her fighter in a spiral pattern around a Vorthak cruiser. Her movements looked random, but they were based on human intuition and creativity, things that no computer could calculate. This is for Earth, she said as she fired at the cruiser's weak points. The space battle was over quickly. Vorthak ships were designed to fight enemies who used logic and predictable tactics. They couldn't handle opponents who relied on emotion, intuition, and split-second decision-making. Down on the planet, General Bai Sun-ho was leading the last group of prisoners to the transport ships. Over 1 million people had been freed in less than 6 hours. It was the largest rescue operation in galactic history. Many of the freed prisoners wanted to join the human fleet. They had spent years dreaming of revenge against their captors. Now they had a chance to fight back. "We'll train anyone who wants to fight," Bai Sun-ho told them. "But remember, this war isn't about revenge. It's about freedom. We're fighting to make sure nobody ever has to live as slaves again." The Vorthak Empire was starting to understand that they faced a real threat. For the first time in centuries, they were losing battles. Their confidence was shaken. Their soldiers were afraid. Dr. John Hyun-woo's psychological warfare was working better than expected. Fear was spreading through the Vorthak military like a virus. Units that had never questioned orders were now refusing to fight. "They don't understand fear," he explained to the other human commanders. "Their society eliminated emotions like fear and doubt millions of years ago. Now that they're experiencing it for the first time, they don't know how to cope." Admiral Han Soo-young was planning the next phase of the war. Intelligence from the freed prisoners showed that the Vorthak were consolidating their forces around their home system. They were preparing for a final battle. "They're scared," she told her staff. "Scared animals are dangerous, but they're also predictable. They'll try to protect their core worlds and abandon the outer territories." More alien species were joining the human cause every day. Some were survivors who had been hiding on backwater planets. Others were freed prisoners who wanted revenge. All of them brought valuable knowledge about Vorthak weaknesses. The humans shared their advanced technology freely with their new allies. Soon, Kalari ships were equipped with human stealth fields. Nexus submarines had human weapons. Zephyrian energy beings were powering human war machines. Lieutenant Nam Junho was training mixed-species combat units. Humans, Kalari Nexus, and other aliens learning to fight together. It was something the galaxy had never seen before. "Each species has different strengths," he explained to his trainees. "Kalari are fast and agile. Nexus people can breathe underwater and think in 3 dimensions. Zephyrians can become pure energy. Together, we're stronger than any of us alone." The war was escalating quickly. What had started as secret raids was becoming open conflict across dozens of star systems. The Vorthak Empire was fighting for its survival, and they knew it. But the humans and their allies were ready. They had spent 200 years preparing for this moment. Now it was time to finish what the Vorthak had started so long ago. The final battle was coming. The Vorthak home system was a fortress. Thousands of ships surrounded the planet where the Bug Emperor lived. Massive space stations bristled with weapons. Energy shields protected every important world. Admiral Han Soo-young stood on the bridge of the Busan Rising, looking at the enemy fleet through the viewscreen. It was the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen, but she wasn't afraid. "All human and allied ships. Report status," she commanded. "New Seoul ready for battle," Commander Lee Jiho responded. "Incheon Thunder ready," came Major Kang Do-yun's voice. One by one, all 18 human ships reported ready. With them were hundreds of allied ships crewed by freed slaves, Kalari, Nexus, Zephyrians, and dozens of other species who had suffered under Vorthak rule. President Yu Jimin had been elected to lead the new human galactic coalition just weeks before the final battle. She was young for a president, but her voice carried the hopes of millions of free people. "Today we end 200 years of tyranny," she announced to the entire fleet. "Today we show the galaxy that freedom always defeats oppression. Today we go home." The Vorthak Emperor sat on his throne deep inside the Imperial Palace. He was ancient beyond measure, having ruled for over 500 years. He had never lost a battle. He had never known defeat. But now his generals brought him reports of human fleets appearing throughout his empire. Ships that moved like ghosts, weapons that struck from impossible angles, enemies who fought without fear or logic. "They are just mammals," he said to his war council, "weak creatures driven by emotion. Our computer-controlled fleets will destroy them easily." But his generals looked uncertain. Many of them had fought humans in the early days of the war. They remembered how dangerous humans could be when they were desperate. Captain Ominha led the first wave of attack fighters toward the Vorthak defense lines. Her squadron included human pilots and aliens who had learned to fly human ships. They moved in patterns that looked like chaos but were actually carefully coordinated. "Remember," she told her pilots, "don't think. Just react. Trust your instincts. The computers can't predict what we don't plan." The Vorthak defense fleet moved to intercept them. Massive battleships fired streams of plasma at the incoming fighters. But the human pilots weaved through the weapons fire like dancers, never flying where the computers expected them to be. General Bei Sunho was leading the ground invasion force. Transport ships full of human and alien soldiers were approaching the Emperor's palace world. Their job was to capture the Vorthak leadership and end the war quickly. "This isn't about killing," he reminded his troops. "This is about justice. We capture their leaders and put them on trial for their crimes. We show the galaxy that we're better than they are." Engineer Lim Gayung had created the most advanced stealth technology ever built. Her ships could hide entire fleets from Vorthak sensors. But for this battle, she had something even better. "Initiating quantum disruption field," she announced. Her new device would prevent Vorthak computers from talking to each other. Without coordination, their massive fleet would become confused and disorganized. The space battle began with the fury of 1,000 storms. Vorthak ships fired everything they had at the human fleet. Energy beams that could destroy planets, missiles that could track targets across star systems, weapons that had conquered 1,000 worlds. But the humans didn't fight like any enemy the Vorthak had faced before. Instead of meeting force with force, they used speed and unpredictability. Human ships spun and danced through space, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. Commander Lee Jiho piloted the new Soul directly at the enemy flagship. It was a move so crazy that the Vorthak computers couldn't calculate a response. They expected him to turn away at the last second. He didn't turn away. The new Soul rammed through the enemy ship's shields and landed in its docking bay. Human soldiers poured out, fighting their way toward the bridge. It was the kind of desperate tactic that only humans would attempt. "For Earth," Lee Jiho shouted as he led the charge. Dr. John Hyunwoo was broadcasting psychological warfare messages directly into the Vorthak command network. His words were designed to create maximum fear and confusion among the enemy commanders. "Your emperor has abandoned you," he told them. "Your fleets are scattered. Your empire is finished. Surrender now and live." Some Vorthak units started to believe the messages. They began withdrawing from the battle without orders. Others fought more desperately, afraid of being punished for losing. The chaos was exactly what the humans wanted. A disorganized enemy was an easy enemy to defeat. Captain Ominha's fighter squadron had broken through the outer defenses. Now they were attacking the space stations that protected the Emperor's world. Her ship's soul fire moved like lightning, striking weak points that the enemy didn't know they had. "Target the power generators," she told her pilots. "Without power, their weapons are just expensive decorations." Ambassador Kim Seojin was coordinating with the freed alien species during the battle. Her job was to make sure everyone understood that this war was about liberation, not conquest. "We're not here to replace the Vorthak Empire with a human empire," she explained to the alien fleet commanders. "We're here to create a galaxy where all species can live free." The Vorthak Emperor finally understood that he was losing. His perfect computer-controlled empire was being destroyed by creatures who refused to follow logical patterns. It was impossible, but it was happening. He decided to lead the final defense himself. Climbing into his personal war machine, a massive robot suit covered in weapons and armor, he prepared to fight the human commanders in single combat. General Bei Sunho's ground forces had fought their way into the imperial palace. The building was huge, with corridors that stretched for miles. But the humans had help from freed Zephyrian prisoners who could phase through walls and scout ahead. "The Emperor is in the throne room," reported a Zephyrian scout. "He's waiting for us in some kind of battlesuit." Bei Sunho smiled grimly. "Then let's not keep him waiting." The final confrontation took place in the Emperor's throne room. The massive chamber was filled with statues of conquered worlds and defeated enemies. At the center stood the Vorthak Emperor in his war machine. "You cannot defeat me," the Emperor said in his clicking voice. "I have ruled for 500 years. I have never known defeat." Commander Li Jiho stepped forward, still wearing his battle-damaged armor from the ship fight. He looked small compared to the Emperor's war machine, but his eyes showed no fear. "Your time is over," he said simply. The battle between Li Jiho and the Emperor was epic. The war machine had weapons that could level buildings, armor that could stop starship cannons, computer systems that could calculate the perfect response to any attack. But Li Jiho didn't fight like a computer.
He fought like a human.
He took risks that made no sense. He attacked from angles that shouldn't have worked. He used his emotions as weapons. When the Emperor fired missiles, Li Jiho dove through the explosions instead of away from them. When the machine tried to crush him, he used its own weight against it. When logic said he should retreat, he attacked instead. In the end, it was human stubbornness that won. Li Jiho refused to give up even when his weapons ran out of power, even when his armor was broken, even when he was bleeding and exhausted. He climbed onto the war machine and found the weak spot that Dr. Shin Wubin had identified years ago. A small gap in the armor where the Emperor's neck joined his body. One precise strike with his combat knife, and the ancient ruler fell. The Emperor's death sent shockwaves through the Vorthak fleet. Without their leader, the remaining ships surrendered or fled. The great empire that had ruled the galaxy for 2 centuries collapsed in a single day. President Yu Jimin addressed the galaxy from the captured imperial palace. Her words were broadcast to every world, every species, every survivor of the long war. "The age of tyranny is over," she announced. "Today begins the age of freedom. We will rebuild this galaxy together, all species working as equals. Never again will any one people dominate the others." Ambassador Kim Seojin began the long work of establishing the new Galactic Liberation Council. Representatives from dozens of species came together to write laws that would protect everyone's rights. The humans kept their promise. Instead of taking over the Vorthak Empire, they helped create something better. A galaxy where different species could trade, explore, and learn from each other in peace. Some Vorthak chose to join the new order. They had to answer for the crimes of their empire. But those who showed genuine remorse were given chances to rebuild their lives. Admiral Han Soo-young oversaw the transformation of the human fleet from a military force to an exploration service. New ships launched every month, carrying humans and aliens to explore parts of the galaxy that had been forbidden under Vorthak rule. Captain Oh Minha established the first integrated flight school, teaching pilots from dozens of species to fly together. Her motto was simple: "In space, we're all just travelers looking for home." The galaxy had been quiet for too long under Vorthak rule. Now it was alive again with the sounds of trade, diplomacy, art, and discovery. Children of different species played together on mixed colonies. Scientists shared research across racial boundaries. Artists created works that celebrated diversity.